one of the things I wanted to share during this time, I've just been getting emails, of course, messenger texts, and reading the news. And one of the things that all of us seem to be facing right now is this lockdown is driving up to the surface a lot of emotion for many of us. And I got an email from a friend of mine who's a staff member of ours, and she was saying that she's in lockdown in Spain, and her elderly parents are in lockdown in the UK, and they have underlying health conditions. And of course, she has all this fear arising, and also the knowledge there's nothing she can do to get to them, and that she finds herself reaching out every day just to let them know how much she loves them. And yet she's dealing with an underlying anxiety and fear. And so I feel that most of us are dealing with that kind of underlying anxiety and fear. And one of the things that, unfortunately, because none of us were ever given a manual, what do you do in the face of this kind of unprecedented chaos and tumultuousness and all this fear and anxiety and shutdown happening for all of us. And most of us were not given a manual. How do you deal with that kind of thing? And so what most of us have done is we've done our best to cope, and the way that we've been coping with these strong emotions arising, and as the previous speaker was saying, that tempers fly and conflict happens, and the issues that we haven't yet met in ourselves are being triggered and arising for us. And one of our reactions normally is, feel an emotion, smoke it away, feel an emotion, drink it away, feel an emotion, get on Netflix, get on Facebook, get on search the web, feel an emotion, call a friend, write an email text, and is anything to avoid feeling an emotion. And this is actually, at this particular time, a very dangerous thing to do in terms of what it's doing to our nervous system, to our immune system, and to our cells. And what science has found, that when we feel a strong emotion and we repress it, it releases a quantifiable biochemistry into our bloodstream, which will go to certain cell receptors and block them, rendering our cells incapable of communicating with the rest of the cells in the body. And if over time illness happens, it happens where the cells are blocked. And conversely, what's also known to be true, and they can watch this in a laboratory, is that when we feel our emotions very openly and naturally and freely, like a child does, our cell receptors remain open. And so this action of us shutting our emotions down, running from it, pretending they're not there, is actually creating a biochemical response in our bodies. And besides the fact that when you shut an emotion down, it's like putting one foot on the brake and another foot's on the gas pedal where the emotion's still coming up. And it's like this internal friction happening inside of our bodies, creating all kinds of biochemical reactions in the body. And so I'd like to introduce perhaps a healthier way, a more natural way of dealing with our emotions. And one of the great, wonderful things that happened to me when I healed from that basketball-sized tumor was I found that old, stored, blocked emotion had played a big part in me co-creating that basketball-sized tumor. And part of the gift of the journey that I underwent was I found a way for all of us to go on a journey inside our bodies, to get to these blocked cell receptors, to go through a process of opening up to what's stored inside of ourselves, to releasing what's stored there, to letting go, to coming to understanding, ultimately forgiveness of ourselves and others for what's taken place in our life, so that when new cells are born, they're born devoid of that old blocked consciousness as new regenerative cells. And one of the things that science has found, and I found this to be extremely important for me when I underwent my own healing journey, is that Chopra was doing a lot of research at that time, 25 years ago when I had the tumor, on the effect that our emotions have on cells. And he wanted to do case studies of people who had healed without drugs or surgery. And he amassed hundreds and ultimately thousands of case studies of people who had healed against the odds without drugs or surgeries. And there were only two qualities he could find that people who had healed without drugs or surgery had in common. One was that through some act of grace or spontaneous event, they actually got access to this that he called the infinite intelligence. The part of you that makes your heart beat and your eyes shine and your hair grow. And the second thing that they had in common is somehow, spontaneously, through some act of grace, they actually got access to this that he called cell memories. And what we know about the cells inside the body is that all of our cells are replicating at various different speeds. So for instance, if you've ever had a suntan, if you've been paying attention, you will notice that your cells actually, the tan faded in about 3 weeks' time. That's because the old cells sloughed off and were replaced by new regenerative cells, healthy cells. Liver cells, they take about 6 weeks, and the old cells die off and are replaced by new regenerative cells. Stomach lining, less than 3 days. One that blows my mind are the eye cells, because when you touch your eyes, they feel pretty firm, but do you know that in less than 48 hours, in less than 2 days, you will have an all-new inner eyeball. It was so inconceivable for me to even contemplate how that could possibly be true. And then my mother had one of these eye operations, you know the kind, where they cut the eye open, they insert her lens, put the flap back, and put a patch on. And only a day and a half later, she could see clearly, not even 2 days. That's how rapidly the eye cells replicate. And as a matter of fact, there won't be a single molecule in your body a year from now that was here today. You are literally all new. But Chopra started asking a question that no one else was asking. Well, if our body's constantly regenerating like this, why is it that when you look at a liver that's riddled with cancer in January, why would it be riddled with cancer in June if it's constantly replenishing and regenerating every 6 weeks? Good question to ask. And what he postulated at that time, which has only subsequently been verified by scientists around the world, is that stored inside that degenerative cells are these old repressed cell memories, these old emotions that I've been talking about, that all of us are repressing. And before that old cell dies, it passes on its consciousness, its programming, to the next cell generation. So the next cell generation is born as an exact replica of the previous cell generation. And this consciousness gets passed on from one generation to the next generation. And what people had in common who had healed without drugs or surgery is somehow through some spontaneous event, they actually got access to these old repressed cell memories, these old stored emotions, these repressed emotions that they didn't have a manual to deal with. And if somehow they released what was stored there and let that go, I don't know, came to some understanding, when the new cells were born, they were born devoid of that old consciousness as new regenerative cells. So here we are at a time right now, Brian, that people not knowing how to cope, what are they doing? They're shutting down. They're repressing all these strong emotions that are coming up. They're doing the exact thing that releases the biochemistry that will go to certain cell receptors, block those cells, rendering those cells incapable of communicating with the rest of the cells in the body. So if over time illness happens, it happens where those cells are blocked. And so what I want to share with you today is a way of beginning to work more healthily with your emotions. So instead of shutting them down, you're befriending them, you're welcoming them, you're opening with them. And I really learned how important this is to do. It was about 3 months after I healed from the tumor. And of course, I'd uncovered many cell memories and gone through a process of release and letting go and forgiveness, and came to a place of wholeness in myself. But I kept wondering to myself, oh, there's these two qualities, and I already knew what to do. If you got access to a cell memory spontaneously, but I didn't know, how was it that I kept opening into a vast, infinite field of presence, of awareness? And I didn't know that getting access to that infinite intelligence happens when you open into the core of your deepest emotions. There you will find this infinite intelligence, this healing presence, the stillness that is your own soul. And I can remember I'd put out a prayer, and it was about 3 months after the tumor. And I already knew what to do if someone spontaneously came up with a cell memory and how to handle that. But I didn't have a step-by-step method to get access to this infinite intelligence from where all the healing happens in your body. And so I put out a prayer that I would be guided. And 3 months later, I ended up sitting with a friend of mine who was giving satsang, and there were a couple hundred people in the room. And we had just had a meditation. And we'd opened our eyes, and the room was flooded with a presence of stillness, of peace, just with an awareness that seemed to be pervading everything. And we were having questions and answers, satsang. And one woman said, you know what, I don't feel like all the rest of you. I happen to be feeling torment. I'm feeling anguish. How am I supposed to feel all this peace that everyone's feeling when I've got all this anguish happening? And my friend, she said a radical thing. She said, just don't move. Stay still. If you go into the core of your worst emotion, there you will find the peace that you are seeking. Now, I'm sitting there as a therapist, having been certified in so many different areas of personal growth and health and integrative medicine. And I'm thinking, oh my God, that is a radical thing for her to say. Because if you go to a medical doctor and you tell them you're full of anguish and torment, they're going to prescribe drugs for you. You know, you go to a psychoanalyst, they're going to analyze you to death. You go to an NLP therapist, they're going to try to reframe you out of the bad emotion into a good emotion. You go to a massage therapist, and they're going to try to find out what is the physical block that's causing this anguish. I mean, you go to a hypnotherapist, they're going to want to find out what past life created this anguish. Everyone out there is trying to fix this so-called bad emotion. But she didn't say fix it. She said something much worse. She said, go into the core of it. There you will find the peace that you are seeking. And I thought, as much respect as I have for my dear friend, and it may be her truth, but it's not true unless it's my truth and unless I've experienced the truth of it. And so I went home and I decided I was going to take 5 days and go into silence. And I was going to find out if what she said was really true. If I went into the core of my worst emotion, the emotion I was most hooked by, that no matter how much work I'd done on it kept still coming up for me. And I thought, I'm going to find out if what she's saying, if I'm going to actually find the peace, the enlightenment the freedom that's there in the core of that emotion. And so I said to my husband, I'm going to take 5 days and go into silence. I'm in a silent retreat. And I've done, up to 3 months in silence in monasteries in India. So this was nothing big for me. And I went to my answer machine, and he was on a business trip going to New York, and I was there at that point, I moved from New York City to Santa Monica, California, and so I thought, I'm going to take these 5 days and go into silence. And the issue that I had, the emotional issue that I felt really, no matter how much work I'd done on it, it still kept coming up for me. It was a drive, a need that I had to be there for people. I had to lift them up, to care for them. And even when I got sick, if someone else, were to call me, let's say one of my clients at 3 o'clock in the morning, they'd call and they had suicidal depression. I mean, I'd hop out of bed and I had to be there for them. And okay, it's a wonderful thing to have to be there for people and to care for them, to lift them up, to support them and help them up. Help them. I mean, all children love to help each other. But not if it's got moved from a place, from not just a desire to be of help to others, to what I would have considered at that time as a therapist as being a compulsion, almost like an obsession, that I was driven to have to help people, to lift them up, to care for them, even if it cost me my own health. And so I had put a message on my answering machine. At that time, we didn't have what we have now, and so we had the kind with the tape recorder on it 25 years ago. And I said, hey, this is Brandon. Listen, I'm taking 5 days in silence on an in-silence retreat. Please leave a message at the end of the beep, and I'll get back to you on Monday in 5 days from now. And as I got ready to turn the volume down on my recorded message, whoa, all this fear came up. Oh my God, what if my daughter calls in and she's been in an auto accident and I'm not there to answer the phone? Oh, what if my husband needs me? He's giving a seminar on the East Coast. And what about that suicidal client of mine? And I'm starting to panic, and I said, stop, Brandon. You've been in India in a monastery for 3 months where no one could get hold of you. You're just panicking because you're going to have to face your worst fear. And so I caught myself at my own game, and I made a vow. Listen, I'm not going to receive any phone calls for help. I'm not going to reach out to any other people to offer help. I wasn't going to indulge in this helping game, this drive to have to be there, lift people up, care for them, support them. And so I turned the volume down, and I went over to sit in the big easy chair that was in my living room. And I closed my eyes, and I asked, what did my friends say? Just stay still and go into the core of the emotion. There you'll find the peace that you are seeking. And I thought, okay, what is it that I'm feeling right now? And whoa, all this fear came up. And it was almost like panic. And I didn't know this, but I had fear of feeling fear. And so the more the fear was coming up, the more I just wanted to jump out of my skin and jump out of my seat and run out of there. And I thought, no, I'm going to meditate first. And so I closed my eyes to sit for meditation. And I'm sure many of your clients here that are watching this meditate. And you can imagine how successful that meditation was, with my mind going 1,000,000 miles a minute. And I was halfway through the meditation, and I just said, stop, Brandon. You're using meditation as an avoidance strategy, which is something I recognized I had done often in my life. And I caught myself at my own game, and I said, okay, stop. You're going to just have to open and feel this emotion. What is it that is here? And again, whoa, all the fear came up. And there came a point where I thought, I'm not sure I can even do this process. But I'd made a vow to myself. I was going to stick with it, no matter how long it took. And something inside of me stopped fighting. I stopped fighting the emotion. I stopped resisting it. I stopped trying to run away from it. I stopped trying to shut it down. I just stopped resisting. And a little tiny part of me just let go. And I fell into a deep, crushing guilt. All the people I could have helped and never helped and didn't help and should have helped. And it was like this overwhelming guilt. But something inside of me got it. Don't fight this. Just allow it. Just open with this. And I just let go. And I fell into an excruciating loneliness. And it was a loneliness that I wasn't familiar with because I was so busy out there, always helping people, being there for them, that I didn't have time to feel lonely. And it was almost like the room was lonely. And I was lonely, and life was lonely. And something just didn't fight it. And I just let go. And I fell into a feeling of like a helpless pointlessness, like a hopelessness. And I thought, you know what? If there's no one here helping other people, and no one here even needs my help, and there's no helping game going on, well then, who the hell am I anyway? Without this helping game. And as I asked that question, I started to scramble, and it began to feel like I was beginning to somehow disintegrate a little bit, and I fell into a deep, dark sort of devastation, and it was like a despair, and it turned into a nothingness that was everywhere. And in this nothingness was like this black hole. And I thought, I'm not going into that nothingness. If I go into that nothingness, I could go crazy. I could cease to exist. I could lose my mind. I don't know what's in that black nothingness. And I didn't know this, but we all of us have fear of the unknown. And that's what this whole coronavirus time is bringing up for all of us. We don't know if we're going to have a job. We don't know if what's going to happen in our lives, if we're going to get ill, if our friends are going to die, if our parents are going to pass away. It's like we're in this unknown. We don't know what life is even going to be like after we come out of lockdown. And we, all of us, have fear of the unknown. And somehow I'd fallen into this vast field of the unknown. And of course, fear came up for me, terror came up for me. And I thought, I'm not going there, because if I go there, I could die. And I held on for dear life, and I made myself as rigid as I could. And I just fought falling into that, because I'd seen what happened. Every time I relaxed in the core of an emotion, I fell into a deeper emotion. I just naturally kind of dissolved into the next emotion. And I thought, I am not going to do that. And so I held on for dear life and fought with all my will. And I'm telling you, the rivulets of sweat that were pouring down my back as I was fighting this fear of the unknown. And there came a point that I realized I was not going to be able to fight anymore. And a little tiny bit of me just gave way, just surrendered, just stopped fighting and let go. And as I asked, who am I? Without this helping game, it was almost like the body was starting to scramble, and then it kind of dissolved into a formlessness in the nothingness. And then the whole room got flooded with light. And it was so bright, my eyes were closed, that I was sure I could see it with my seeing eyes. I opened my eyes, but I couldn't see it, so shut them again. And as I opened in this light, I realized that this light was suffusing all of existence. And there was a peace in this light. Spontaneously, unexpectedly, I'd fallen into my own soul. And I realized that my soul is everywhere, pervading all of existence, that this that I am, in fact, in truth, is part of the fabric of all of existence. And I realized that actually my emotions are the gateway to my soul. And that this that I had been running from, resisting, shutting down my whole life, I had actually been running from myself. And then when I willingly opened down through the layers of the pain and met that nothingness and let go in that, I discovered a peace that pervades all of existence. And it's at that level, at the level of the soul, that all journey work takes place, where we open into this infinite intelligence that pervades all of existence. And it's that deepest level that we are guided to different cellular locations to clear whatever's stored there, whatever cell memories are there, to go through a radical process of release, letting go, ultimately forgiveness, so that and the being can heal. And so I'd like to take you into a little meditation where we can all come together and just begin to take baby steps, learning how to befriend our emotions, to welcome our emotions, and to allow and open with our emotions. As you start to welcome what's coming up and embracing it, you will naturally find yourself going down through the layers and opening into this peace that passeth understanding, this love that is your essence. And from here, there is a guidedness that becomes available to you, that even in this time of the unknown, there'll be a wordless guidance that will guide you through this time of tumult and unknown. And so I'd like to welcome you to join me in a short meditation. I call it the gentle welcome because it's welcoming the emotions that live inside of you and just embracing them, allowing them, giving them a voice, and just learning how to befriend our emotions. So if you'd like to join me, let's take a nice deep breath in and letting it out and closing the eyes, And another nice deep breath in of openness and breathing that into the room. And willingness, the willingness to meet whatever's here. Breathing that into the room. And trust. Trust of yourself, trust of your soul, trust of your being, breathing that into the room. And letting this heart of yours be as wide as the world. The vast open sky of all acceptance. Large enough to welcome whatever emotions are here that are stored inside of you, even some of your ancestors' emotions. That's how vast this love is. And now turning your gaze inside your body. And you know, your body is like a container full of all kinds of emotions. And our emotions, some of them are like little kids, you know, they're loud and attention-seeking. And others of our feelings are more shy and scared. Still others of our emotions, they've been rejected so many times that like a rejected little kid, they don't even come up anymore. They're afraid of us. And so putting out a heartfelt welcome to all the emotions that live here. And also letting your feelings know that for once, you're going to welcome them. You're going to be present to them. You're going to listen to them. You're going to allow them. You're going to give them a voice. And so making this promise to your own body and to the feelings that live inside of you. Now locating a part of your body where there may be a little tension or stress or holding or hiding or contraction going on. Locate that part of the body. And taking in a deep breath of acceptance now, and flooding that area with acceptance. Letting it marinate that area and tenderize that area and soften that area and open up that area. And if this area that's now softened by your own acceptance has been tenderized by your own acceptance, if there were feeling just spontaneously arising out of that area, I wonder what that feeling might be. It might be as quiet as a whisper. So just staying wide open. Or if you gave this area a voice, and it could speak. If it had words, what would it say right now? And speak those words out loud in your living room or wherever you are right now. Just speak the words out loud. And as you listen to the words, how do they make you feel emotionally? Just welcoming whatever's here, whatever's not here. Maybe spontaneously a picture's showing up. If that's happened, step into it. How are you feeling in that picture? Just welcoming whatever's here and whatever's not here. And taking a deep breath in of acceptance. Flooding that area with acceptance, letting it soften and be marinated and opened. And now come to neutral inside your body. And find another area where there may be a little tension or stress or holding or hiding or contraction going on. Taking a deep breath in of acceptance, flooding that area with acceptance, letting it soften and be tenderized and marinated. And let it open up. And if there were a feeling starting to arise out of that area, what might that feeling be? Might be super quiet, so as to stay open to it. Or if this area could speak and had words, what would it say right now? Just let the words arise and speak that out in your room. And as you listen to the words, how do they make you feel emotionally? Maybe a picture's coming up. If it is, step into it. How are you feeling in that picture? Or maybe there's a lid somewhere inside of you where you've been shutting this area down. If there is a lid, go ahead and, like peeling the lid back from a can of peanuts, take hold of the lid and lift it off now. What's hiding here? Just welcoming whatever's here and whatever's not here. And taking a deep breath in of acceptance. And now flooding that area with acceptance and coming to neutral. And now finding yet a third area where there may be a little tension or stress or holding or hiding or contraction going on. Taking a deep breath in of acceptance and now flooding that area with acceptance, letting it soften and be tenderized, marinated and opened up. Just really open with that area. And if there were a feeling beginning to arise out of that area, what might that feeling be? Or if this area could speak and had words, what would it say right now? And as you listen to the words, how do they make you feel emotionally? Or maybe there is a lid somewhere where it's just like you've just shut it down. If there is that lid, take hold of the lid and lift it off. What's hiding here? Just welcoming whatever's here and also whatever's not here. And now putting out an invitation to your body that you're going to stay wide open, and during this time where we're all in lockdown, that you're going to start befriending your emotions, embracing them, welcoming them, and that you're going to start listening to yourselves. Because our emotions are the gateway to our soul. In the core of any emotion is the peace that you have been seeking. It's time to finish with running from ourselves and instead start turning inwards towards ourselves. Taking a nice deep breath in. Letting it out. And another nice deep breath in. Letting it out. And the heart remains as wide as the world. It's vast and spacious, free and endless in front of you. It's boundlessly spacious and free behind you. It's endlessly vast and spacious to all sides of you. So that eyes open or eyes closed. Same. Taking another nice deep breath in. Letting it out. And we can open our eyes now into this field of awareness that's here. And so I pray that, this was a tiny taste of how to softly begin to invite this relationship with you and your emotions. And if you get triggered, instead of blowing up at your loved ones, extract yourself from the conversation. Say, you know what, I need a little space. I've gotten triggered here. And maybe go to your room and just do as I did. Open with the emotion. And just open and go into the core of it. And keep going down through the layers of the pain. Eventually, you will inevitably end up in this field of the unknown, in the nothingness. And when you surrender to that, this vast presence of peace, of love, that is your essence, that is your soul, suffusing all of existence, is here. And it's here that conscious communication can take place from love. And I pray that you'll use today's little 45-minute talk that we've had with this process as an invitation to decide that you're going to use this time where we're all in lockdown wisely and well, and that you're going to gift yourself every day time to go inside and find the peace that is available in the core of all this chaos that's happening, and that you'll begin this relationship with yourself. And I just wanted you to know that I'm giving every day. I've now recorded 14 videos on my Facebook page. It's also available on thejourney.com. It has videos like we are just doing now, where you get teachings and process work and meditations. You get, I even did a section on how to take this work into your kitchen, and immune strengthening, nutrition, and how to create your own pharmacy. And we've had yoga for releasing fear, and movement sessions for really getting our lymphatic system going. And it's actually quite a dynamic site. And I feel you're worth a half an hour every day to do this. It's free of charge. And just click on and let yourself become a member of that. Also, we have an abbreviated version of the original Journey book that you can download for free, and also get process sheets, the newest process sheets online. And so if you go to www.thejourney.com, so much free material is there. I also have a 21-day meditation healing meditation series, which is audio, And it gives you 15 minutes of meditation every day, dealing with everything, like the negative beliefs that we're experiencing now and the fears that we're having, and dealing with clearing our chakras and how to come to stillness in yourself. And it's just 15 minutes. If you can't sit through a half an hour of the videos that I'm doing, at least gift yourself 21 days of 15 minutes a day of meditation. You are worth it. And I do feel that life has made an invitation to all of us, that things are slowing down, and it's inviting us to use this time wisely and well. And I'll also be giving, eventually, we're going to be creating the Journey Intensive online too, because I don't know how long it's going to be. I'm still coming to South Africa, as we hope to be coming to South Africa in October with the Journey Intensive. And so I want you to begin your journey with yourself, your journey in healing, your journey in wholeness, to discover the freedom and the joy and the love that is your own essence. So I pray we'll meet again and again in this way. And until we do meet again, heartfelt namaste.